It's a fresh new year, which means it's time to flip through my 2023 Part 2 journal together. It's always so satisfying to fully complete a journal like this, so I'm excited to show you inside, but just before we do, if you wanted to see the entire year, I did already make a flip through for the first journal I used for 2023, so if you'd like to see that, there's a link up here in the corner or in the description box if you prefer. For the second half of 2023, I used this lovely journal. It is the Hourglass Dreams journal from Kuma Stationery Crafts. It didn't come with these little embellishments on the corners. I added those myself, and I used it pretty hard. I also, very early in the process, I spilled ink on it here when I was setting up my August layout, so that's a shame, and it did get all the way down this corner of the book, but it has held up really well. Besides that, let me take the elastic off so you can see this a little bit better. None of the signatures have started to come away from the binding, which is the main thing I look for in a journal. If I'm going to use it hard like I do, then I don't want to lose any of these out of here, which is what happened with the first journal, unfortunately. I did also lose one of my ribbon bookmarks. It just fell out quite early into the use of this journal, but that's not really such a big deal. It's not the best, but it didn't bother me that much. It's all good. And let's begin with the inside cover. I kind of decorated this with extra bits that were left over, and of course I tried to do a tip-in grid spacing guide. I didn't like this. I didn't bring it forward with me into 2024 because it just didn't really work for me. It was fine if the stuff you were setting up was on this page, like on the left page, but if you needed the same things for the right page, you still had to kind of count it out. And because of the pocket at the back, you can't really, I suppose you could set one up here, but I didn't want to do that many, so not my thing. I've gone back to having a little ruler instead that I just DIY, and that works well for me. Let's get into the new journal spreads, the initial setup in this one. I was trying to carry it over a little bit from what I did in the previous journal, so I was trying to match the colors. I actually didn't love this so much, if you recall, but funnily enough, the videos where I don't love what I did tend to be the ones that perform the best. So thank you for all the love on this setup video. There are links to all of these setups in the description as well, in case you want to go back and get ideas from any of these. Just because they aren't for this year doesn't mean, well, that one is, just because some of them aren't for this year doesn't mean they won't still work for you. You can adapt things, obviously, to different years. And some stuff in this video will be blurred out just because of personal reasons. I don't want to share my entire life on the internet. Happy to share my journal, but some parts of it I want to keep private, so that's what the blurriness is. So you can still kind of see how the page worked, but I get to keep some stuff private too. This playlist thing, I was using Receiptify, and at the end of the month, I would just sometimes forget, like July and November, I just forgot to get my Receiptify stats for that month, and it doesn't give you an option to select specific dates, so I unfortunately will never know what my top 10 songs would have been for July and November, but that's okay, I have the rest. And I think there's a lot of Vaudeville Smash represented in here. I listened to them a lot. This was fun, the planning my next journal thing, and I did use it, but then I forgot to leave space for that in the next journal setup, so that's kind of funny. Into July. This color scheme is really different for me, but I had a really good time. I wanted to try out some Ferris wheel press inks that I had just got, and I love how it came together. Sometimes it's fun to get out of your comfort zone. I really enjoyed this setup. Lots of things from the washi tape shop in this one of my favorite places for stationery. This mood tracker was so much fun, and you can get it on Etsy as a printable if you would like. I did not use the meal planner, and that was kind of a trend. When I did use the meal planner, I found it really helpful, but most months I didn't use it. So that's a bit of a shame. I kept setting it up in case I was going to use it, and then, yeah, kind of didn't. So that's kind of funny. So I made a big old mistake here. I set up the July spreads, and then I forgot to leave room for weeklies for the rest of July, and I went straight into August. So the July weeklies are actually, let's just skip forward a bit here. There we go. The July weeklies actually continue after August's pages. A bit awkward, but not the end of the world. I could still use the journal, it was fine, so I thought we'd just have a little look through the July weeklies first, and then we'll flip back so that it's a bit more chronological, and we'll do August. I feel like this was really the beginning of me leaning into the fantasy thing. Oh, no, actually maybe May in the previous journal was that, because there were fairies in that, but this one I was just like, heck, let's go hard. I had such a good time setting this up. This was, unfortunately, when I spilled ink on my journal. I actually did that in a members-only live stream, so if you want to see that chaos happen, you can do that. If you want to watch me freak out, well, not watch me freak out, but hear me freak out, because my face isn't in the video. These London Gifties stickers are so amazing. They're from PET tape rolls, and I love them so much, but because I used them so heavily here, I feel like if I use them again, a theme is just going to look the same, and you get so much tape on those rolls, so I need to work out what I'm going to do there. And I have so much fun setting up the weeklies together, so that's a tricky thing about the way I'm doing my weeklies at the moment. They work really well for me, but they don't give me the opportunity to set stuff up on live stream so much with you guys, and that's a shame. I'll have to think of other things to do on live. Here we are with the Julys, we've already looked at those. Let's just forge ahead. I loved including these throughout last year, so I think I might continue to do these season transition spreads. I am in the Southern Hemisphere, in case you're like, what the heck, why is Farewell Winter coming after August? Because that's how it works here. June, July, August is winter for us here in the Southern Hemisphere. I'm in Australia specifically, but all of the Southern Hemisphere. And then spring starts from September, October, November. So let's do a springtime setup, she says. It's funny, at the time I set this up, I thought it was kind of average, but I'm looking back at it now and I'm like, this is so much fun. This is so cute. When your journal's really happy and fun like this, it makes it easier to pick it up. Although, clearly, I didn't use my 1 line a day so much. I retired that after a little while because I wasn't using it, so, you know. Likewise, I kind of stopped with the sleep tracker halfway through the mood tracker. I don't look like I've finished the habits here either, but, you know, best laid plans. This is where I was noticing that my old tracking systems weren't working so well for me. Get that ribbon out of the way. But I wasn't ready to commit to changing them yet. We got another completely unused meal planner here, which is kind of, I feel like sometimes just the process of setting up the meal planner makes me think about what I'm going to eat, and that helps, but I didn't write it down, clearly. This content planner, also not especially heavily used. I've got all of my videos for YouTube worked out, but the rest of it, not so much. And that's fine. I schedule that stuff out with a third-party app anyway, and I have a video about how the content planner works in case you want to see that. That can be in the description as well. These little cassettes from Lace and Whimsy Studio, amazing, so adorable. This is making me really glad I've just brought back the pastels for my February florals, because I love and I live for a pastel layout like this. My partner and I disappeared away to Sydney for a weekend. We live kind of like 10 hours drive from Sydney, but he has family there, so we went to visit. We saw a musical. I don't do a lot of memory keeping in my journal, but I think I missed my travel journal a little bit from when we went on our Europe trip at the start of the year, so I was like, this is an opportunity. I used my HP Sprocket to print these ones. These were from brochures. Just had a really good time. Also, do any Aussies about my vintage, like in their mid-30s, remember a TV show called Sydney Weekend? Or Sydney Weekender? There was a theme song. I don't know, I was thinking of that when I set this up. Oh my god, October. I love this so much. I think this was maybe my favorite theme of the whole year, and I think it may have been your favorite theme of the whole year too, because I think it was my best performing monthly setup out of all of my monthly setup videos last year, so thank you for that. The windows are always a hit. I should do more of this kind of thing. I need to plan ahead, you know. I do have one small regret here, and I'm actually thinking I might see if I can fix it now, even though it doesn't matter and I'm not really gonna look at this very much again. I wish, and you know, it's been several months, like nearly 5, so this may not be possible, but I wish these flowers sat on top of the frame. Can we fix it, Bob the Builder? We might not be able to. They might be too well adhered. Oh, maybe we can. Please don't rip the page. Please don't rip the page. Please don't. Oh, it ripped the page. Okay, let's stay. If you can just get the lip of a PET sticker like this to start to peel up, then you can usually go okay getting the rest of it to come too. I wouldn't try it with a PET tape, they're a lot more delicate, but I feel like this one, it's not so bad. Then, how much space do we need to stick the frame back down? Almost. There we go. And then return the florals. I might just give these a little extra compression. Oh, that's way better. That was my only regret for this layout, and we just fixed it, so I need not regret anymore. Although I think it is a little obvious that I've peeled this up several months later, but that's okay. That's okay. This was a huge mix of things. I remember putting all the links to everything in the description of this video was a bit of a nightmare because I used so much stuff. This is from JOURNALSAY, this is from the Washi tape shop, this is from Lace and Whimsy Studio, this guy was from the Quirky Cup Collective, the stamps, like everything. There was just so many elements. Sorry, that was bad English. There were so many elements here that all contributed to make a beautiful thing. But man, you only get so many characters in a YouTube description. Also the waterfall tabs. I love how these came out. If I did this again, I would try to make them a little bit more even. I feel like this one is a bit shorter. This is exposed a little bit more than the others. So, you know, you got to start somewhere. This was my first time doing an uneven edge on a Dutch door, on a waterfall tab. So, you know, I learned a lot and that's good. Again, I haven't totally used my one line a day section. I haven't used my musings at all. And you have to, when you're changing up the size of your page like this, reducing it, you have to be really careful about how you set this stuff up, especially when I was taking up even more of it with this waterfall tab system, so stuff had to change a little bit. Haven't really used the habits, really haven't used the mood. I love the idea of this, using stamps for my mood tracker, but I was just too lazy to actually execute, so that's a shame. On the flip side, using the stamps to make like an illustrative one and then colouring in the stamps seems to be fine, because we did that in December and it worked out okay. Oh look, a meal planner that I've actually somewhat used, how funny. And there was a sticker here, you can see that maybe I can work on this a little bit too. There was a sticker here, it partially covered the cost column here in my spending tracker, so I had to rip that one off unfortunately, and it was a paper sticker, so it's left some papery residue, which is unfortunate. Does kind of stick the page together a little bit, which isn't great. Oh, and now I've torn the washi that's under it, so maybe that's just gonna have to stay how it is. But you know what I'm gonna do so that it doesn't stick to the opposite page? Take a little bit of tape and just cover it. Ooh, that's a good sound. And now she's all good. Again, a barely used content planner, but I did work stuff out. I mean, I posted through October, so you know. And then we're into the October weeklies, which are outside of the waterfall tab setup. That is really thick for the middle of the page. This is like a cardboard. I don't know if I'd do that again, but I do really like how it looks. That might be where the big bend in the spine came from. Living for all of these weeklies, and then we're into November, this little sort of somewhat coquette cottagecore, like princess core setup. Unusual colors for me. I wouldn't normally go for this kind of apricot peach beige thing, but I think I mostly based it around this tape. No, actually, it was these tapes. The Princess Room PET tapes from the Washi tape shop. And then this just happened to fit. That one was from London Gifties. Now, usually November is when I start really getting into the Christmas vibes because I'm setting up my journal kind of early. I do a lot of photography for shopping centers that have like Christmas events. So I start feeling the Christmas vibes really early because obviously they get Christmas out really early in retail. But I wasn't feeling it this year. I did watch Dash and Lily. I don't know what I was writing here, and then there's nothing. Good job, Erin. Oh yeah, in my musings, I can't decide if I'm super pumped or super over Christmas this year. Ended up being super over, funnily enough, but I love that musings page. I did not touch my habit tracker, did not touch my mood tracker, which is unfortunate because I think it would have been really cute. And I can still color it in, but it won't be accurate to the moods that I had because I don't remember now, you know, so whatever. I didn't even assign habits to 5 out of the 6 trackers. I only did this one, so that's kind of funny. You can tell when I'm getting really busy because using my journal, which, you know, it should be more important that I use my journal when I'm getting really busy because it will keep me on track, but it is the first thing to go, unfortunately. See, this is what I mean by I don't use the previous pages, but I live in my weeklies. I'm still using them really heavily. I think I've got some dirty cat paw prints on this one, which shouldn't surprise me, but you know, thanks for that, Mitsu. And when I don't have time to set up weeklies on live, they end up real boring and basic like this, as opposed to this. So yeah, see, still really using the weeklies quite well, but those trackers just getting really ignored, which is why December, I was like, it's time, we have to change things up. We must. Which brings us to, at this point, a season-changing spread, first of all. That's so cute. That's so cute. I should use these for something. That's the only one of these papers I've used so far. And this was actually a great opportunity for me to use these little mermaids from Lace & Whimsy Studio because I could not see myself ever using those in a functional journal setup. They're just a bit less my style, very cutesy. I like them, but they're not that me, if that makes sense. So using them on a season transition spread that's like less of a fixture in the journal is fun. Also, these like reflective jellyfish are so fun. Into December, this was great. My Aussie Christmas vibe with lots of dry grass kind of colours, because that's what the landscape looks like at a December time of year for us. We get lots of hazard reduction burning, the sky goes kind of smoggy. It was really fun to have a chance to put some Aussie stuff in. There's just, I said this in the video, but there's not a lot of Australian or Southern Hemisphere summer Christmas stuff out there. So it was great to have a little opportunity to bring a little bit of my country into my journal. No goals, apparently, for the month of December, just kicking on. And I did get, unfortunately, really unwell in December, like right before Christmas. I got this awful cold. Apparently it had been going around Brisbane. A lot of people experienced the same thing. Love this content planner, by the way. Really enjoyed this setup. Would like to do this again. Yes, a lot of people had it. It lasts for like 3 weeks and it sort of feels like you finished the cold and then it resets and starts again. So that was fun. I didn't start to feel better until like mid-January, which was a bit of a shame. This is what I'm talking about with changing up my system. So I've got less of these previous pages with trackery things on them, and I've brought all the trackers into the weekly, so that because I use these quite consistently for day-to-day to-do lists and reminders and things, if I have these still visible at the same time, I'm much more likely to use them. And that was true to a point, mostly because I got sick. So I have used my habit trackers mostly. I have used the mood tracker, which is the little stars and stuff colored in, up until the 17th apparently, and it was the 22nd when I got sick. My brother was visiting for Christmas, like things got really hectic around there, so it makes sense that I wasn't using my journal so much. It was also that weird like Christmas, New Year's in between time when you don't know what day it is, so that's all good. And then these little Dutch door flaps are the actual weeklies. The limitation here is that you have much less space to set up your weekly areas. So even though it's still enough room to plan, it's not enough room to really change up your weeklies very much from one week to the next, which means setting them up on live stream is less exciting for you guys because it's sort of predictable. But let me know if that's something that you care about, and if it's not, then maybe we'll just continue doing it this way for the foreseeable future because it's working for me. Then we have 1, 2, 3 spreads spare, an extra page, and then I always use the back pages for a little bit of a swatch. Actually, not always, but most of the time, for a little bit of a test swatch situation here. This is obviously for my December pages. I had a PET tape I was thinking about using. Putting it with these things made me go, no, I shouldn't use that, clearly. Trying out the stickers with, this was watercolor, but with a dip pen, different watercolor metallic paints from a set that I've got, trying to match pens. I actually do these little test run setups and penciling everything out in my journal with my channel members from the Jubilant Journals and the Hand-Lettered Heroes tiers. Both of those give you access to my private Discord server as well, where we hang out and chat about journals. The Jubilant Journals tier has these live streams included, and if you go one more extra up to the Hand-Lettered Heroes, you get access to our Page Majors book club as well. This was obviously November planning, same kind of thing, being like, not that grey pen because it's too blue, but like purple blue, not the right blue. These ones were okay. Again with this was inks this time with the dip pen, and I didn't end up doing it because I messed up, if I recall correctly. But then we have, this was obviously October over here, a little test run, and then the September springtime theme. They're not chronological, really. I mean, I guess I start from over here. We've got July, because I needed 2 pages for July, but then August is there. And this was a page that I cut out to make those little tip ends back here. So that brings us to the very end of the journal, and there is a pocket in the back that I basically never use, so there's nothing in there. And there we have it. That is my completed second journal from 2023. I hope you enjoyed our little flip through. There's cat hair on it. Of course there is. I had a really good time with this journal. I enjoyed it. I even came to enjoy the ink splatter as well. In case you haven't heard, in my new journal, I have watercolor paper, and I'm challenging myself to paint in every theme this year. I've already set up the initial spreads with gouache paint, and we've also already done January and, oops, February themes in this one. So if you'd like to see those, there's a link to February on the screen right now in the top right corner, and underneath that is a link to a video that YouTube thinks you will enjoy from me. Thanks for flipping through my journal, and I'll catch you again next week. Bye!